Hey there folks, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an early impression on Hardland, developed by Mountain Sheep, and is available on Steam at the regular price, around $15 USD. Now Hardland is in early access, so I do want to remind the folks out there that by the time you watch this, the game could have very well been changed or updated, so I recommend at the very least checking out the Steam store page, just to make sure you're nice and up to date with the current version and all that. But anyways, Hardland is certainly a very interesting title. It's sort of like an open world ARPG with some pretty good looking graphics, I gotta say. But we'll explore more of that when we actually get into the game. At the end of the video, we'll explore some of the game's special features as well as any extra options and all that kind of good stuff. But for the time being, let's just jump into the game currently. So first thing is that there is no separate save files, there's no separate save profiles, which is a bit annoying. There's only one save file or save slot available, and yeah, it's a little bit of an inconvenience considering that I had a previous game where I was like level 7 and I kind of dived into a dungeon I couldn't get out of, so I decided to start a new game. Maybe I can come back to the level 7 character. But unfortunately, I just ended up saving over that, so there you go. So first critique, I would like to see separate save files, or at least save profiles, or something along the lines of that. But let's just continue a game that we got started. Alright, here we are. We're in the beautiful world of Hardland. It's going to be the first thing I want to talk about. I think it's going to be one of the first things that's going to grab a lot of people's attention. Is definitely the aesthetics, definitely the graphics, the arts, and all that kind of good stuff of this game. I mean, look at it. It's friggin' gorgeous. Without being hyperbolic, this is actually probably one of the best looking indie games I have ever had the pleasure of laying my eyes on. It really, really is. I mean, just look at it. It is friggin' gorgeous. It really, really is. Certainly the aesthetics and the art design, it was one of the first things to grab my attention. It's probably going to be one of the first things to grab a lot of people's attentions, to be honest. Yeah, it's just a really, really good looking game. The visual styles and the character design, environment design, all that kind of stuff, I believe it was inspired by stop motion animation and claymation and all that kind of good stuff, right? And yeah, I think the graphics are doing a pretty good job of representing its inspiration. You know, all the characters and environment, it does have a sort of clay, sort of doughiness to them. It's not a bad thing, obviously, but yeah, it's a good looking game. So what I'm trying to say, it's a really good looking game. Anyways, let's take care of some of these goblins here, kind of giving us some trouble. There we go. Obviously, when you kill some baddies, some mobs, you can pick up all the loot that's on the ground. As you just saw me do, you can actually pick up the dead corpses of your enemies as well and throw them. Although I haven't really found a use for it. I'm not able to actually damage enemies by throwing objects at them. Maybe I'm just unsuccessful. But generally speaking, to be honest, the physics system is a little bit weak at times. Like, when I throw him, he doesn't really get thrown. He just kind of drops, right? So, yeah, there's that. But other than that, yeah, it looks great. So what is this game exactly? What is the whole point of it? Well, it is an ARPG, as I mentioned before. It is sort of a early access kind of open world ARPG, to be exact, in that there's no actual main quest line that I know of. It's a bunch of just exploration, and there are side quests and mini quests to be found, although most of the quests that I've experienced through this game so far have mostly been fetch quests, right? Like, get me a hat, I really like hats. So I go and find an NPC a hat, and there you go, quest complete, right? That's generally how it goes. So basically, it just kind of tries to open up the game a little bit, allowing the player to create his own gameplay style and his own story, if you will. Wow, we just took a bunch of damage from that. And all that kind of good stuff, right? So let's collect all his loot. Very good. And we can actually kill innocent NPCs as well, like this gentleman here. We can talk to him. Let's try and talk to him first. There was a fight on the road. Okay. We can also try and steal from him by hitting I. Let's see. He has a cucumber, eggplant, pickle, piece of watermelon, and potatoes. From my experience and to my knowledge, food essentially works as health. Right? You hit 2 on the numpad or whatever, and that'll feed you and also restore some of your health. In fact, I'll show you some of that now. Hit 2, eat a little bit of food, and my health is restored. Very good. As I was mentioning, you can actually kill innocent NPCs as well, so I'll show that off. Boom. Oh, he's running away, as you would. Boom. Just like that. Oh, and if you kill a NPC, sometimes a skeleton pop out of him. And, you know, he'll try and kill you. But we'll do our best to kill him first, of course. Got rid of his shield. There we go, just like that. So we'll pick up his hats and all his loot. Very good, very good. Excellent. So let's check our inventory. So this is basically our inventory system. It is a little bit lackluster, to be completely honest. All our items are just mixed into one big bag. I don't believe there is a limit. I think you can just carry as much as you like. But that's not really the issue. The issue is there's no tab, right? There's no like food tab, equipment tab, item tab, or anything like that. It's very, very disorganized. There's no way to organize it other than alphabetical, which makes looking at new loot very, very difficult, considering there's like 100,000 different types of food items. They all pretty much do the same. They just restore different amounts of HP, to my knowledge. Maybe there's a crafting system in this game later on, but I haven't experienced it yet, right? So there you go. Now, let's just kind of talk about the mechanics a little bit. I think that would be appropriate. So, you know, you have a stamina bar in the bottom middle there. You can see it refilling. It's blue. Obviously, running will take up stamina. Throwing swings with your weapon will take up stamina. Jumping will take up stamina. Picking up objects and throwing it will take up stamina. And that's generally the main resource you have to kind of micromanage as you're combating. You do have a block available, and you have a very basic swing. And I haven't experienced anything outside of just a very basic swing. So I gotta say, the combat is a little bit lackluster, admittedly. It is very, very basic. And by the way, there is a night and day cycle as well, which definitely adds a little bit to the ambience, or ambiance, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, to the environment. But anyways, let's just try and find a goblin or something, so we can get a little bit of combat, so I can kind of exemplify the, unfortunately, very basic combat mechanics of this game. Let's see here. Sometimes the enemies are kind of sparse, so we do have to kind of do a little bit of looking. But while we're doing that, I guess I should kind of talk about the point of the game. Well, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of an open world RPG or ARPG. As mentioned before, there's no real main quest line. To be honest, this game sort of lacks a sense of direction overall. I do understand that the developers want to keep the game open and free-form and sandboxy and kind of allow the player to create his own quests and adventures and storyline and all that kind of good stuff. But as gorgeous and beautiful as this world is, and it is gorgeous and beautiful, it's not really all that well populated with interesting things. Like there's really not that many quests to collect. And let's see here, we got an archer running towards something. Let's see what he's doing. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot of quests to collect, and as I mentioned before, most of the quests are just fetch quests anyways. A lot of the houses and stores, they're not all that useful in its current version either. Like, we're at a marketplace now, so I guess I can show you a little example of that. So let's see here, we can talk to this lady here. She's gonna, let's see, I come from a family of carpenters, but somehow I ended up doing this instead. Okay. So she's not even going to sell us anything. Okay. Maybe it's too late to find... Oh, this guy will sell stuff, I think. While I was going to work, I saw a group of what looked like elves in the forest. Okay. Well, I guess it is too late. Maybe all the stores are closed. But generally speaking, the shopkeepers, you know, they don't really sell armor pieces or potions or anything like that. None that I found anyways. they've mostly been selling me like food items, which is actually pretty common and easily found. Which kind of goes back to how, as gorgeous as this game is, it's kind of sparsely populated with interesting things to discover, and which is a little bit unfortunate because discovery and exploration is definitely a huge incentivizing factor for this game, for the player to keep playing, right? And without interesting things to discover and to find and all that kind of stuff, it kind of loses a little bit of its appeal, right? Now this game's in early access, right? So maybe they'll add a little bit more, hopefully down the road anyways. Actually, let's not go down here. This place is pretty dangerous. You know, I've already explored this area here. So it really just kind of breaks down to a lot of exploration, right? Now luckily for us, with its absolutely gorgeous graphics and all that kind of good stuff, it is fairly entertaining just exploring the land. Just kind of discovering what the world will generate and all that kind of stuff, which probably I should mention that the dungeons and the wilderness in this game are randomly generated. However, the towns, like this area here, is hand developed and designed. So it's a mix of RNG and developer designed, right? Let's talk to Brigand here. Stop, only those with the code can pass. Wood Robin, it's nuts. Alright, let's try something else then. I don't know the code, then you cannot enter. Okay, fair enough. We can attack him if we want to, but he'd probably kill us, so let's not do that. The death penalty is pretty weak as well. You just basically load from your last save point. I guess not really weak, I should say standard, right? It's very standard. Have you seen... I haven't seen you around, you must be new here. Somebody told me that the witch lives in a swamp not far from here. Continue. Apparently she takes young children to her house and then boils them alive in a huge black pot. Alright, very good. Doesn't sound like a very friendly person at all, does she? We can enter some buildings. Not all buildings, but some buildings. However... Oh god, look at... Okay, let's get out of that. I don't know what was in there. I was just about to say that a lot of buildings are quite empty, without much interesting things in there, but apparently not this one. It's full of bad guys and mobs. Let's just stay out of that one. Let's check out what's in here instead. Okay, this is better. This place has a loot box, but I think it needs a key that I don't have. Yeah, it does. So let's just not bother with this. How do I, okay. Okay, very good. Excellent. But yeah, outside of that chest, not much in here, unfortunately. So yeah, you know, I love exploring this game. I love how this game looks. It's extremely well polished, and surprisingly enough, as gorgeous as this game looks, you would think it would be fairly hard on anyone's system, but it's actually pretty well optimized, and it's fairly stable. I've never had it crashing on me or anything like that. Never found any, you know, overly serious game-breaking bugs or anything like that. And yeah, I'm getting a fairly steady, you know, 60-ish frames. Running a GTX 970 i5 processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM. So that's generally my specs right there. And I'm running pretty good. Yeah, running pretty good. Anywhere between 40 to 60 frames a second. I'm pretty happy with that, considering the high fidelity of this game, right? So yeah, it's a pretty interesting game. But as you can see, ooh, there's a hat up there from the looks of it. Maybe I can get it. I'm not sure. I guess not. Oh well. But as you can see, you know, the game is a lot of roaming around. Like right now, I'm not just roaming around just to show off the game. This is me playing the game. This is how the game plays. There's no, again, there's no focus points. It is extremely open to the player. But you know, I gotta be honest with you guys. The game does lack a little bit of depth, right? Besides the lack of inventory management here, and a fairly basic equipment system as well, and the very basic combat system of this game, and not really a whole lot to discover even in this vast, gorgeous world. You know, these are all kind of issues. I kind of feel like Mountain Sheep might have put the carts before the horse on this one. Like they developed this amazing environment, this amazing world with absolutely some of the most impressive graphics I've ever seen, only to be filled with a whole lot of emptiness, unfortunately, right? Yeah, so like, that's really the main issue here. I mean, I would love to see more, I don't know, random events occur or something like that. Maybe some better quest variety rather than just fetch quests, essentially. I think all of these things would help. And the combat system probably needs some adjusting and some development, as well as, really, from my experience in my about a little bit over 3 hours, is just swinging a weapon, right? So it's very, very basic. And also, there is a level up system, I should mention. I'm level 4 currently. My previous character was level 7, but that got deleted. But when you level up, you know, there's no stats to input, there's no abilities to gain, there's no magic system that I know of. Even though I have this very magical looking wand, it's really just a beating stick, right? And yeah, combat just comes down to whacking enemies, and that's about it, right? So yeah, the game is a little bit shallow, and it's, you know, I think if Mountain Sheep is going to continue developing this game, which I'm sure they will because it's in early access, they should just stop with the polish. They've got the polish down. It's a freaking gorgeous game. Like I said, without any hyperbole, without being hyperbolic, I mean, this is probably one of the best looking games I've ever seen, right? It just needs to be filled with some depth, with some mechanics, with some content, right? Rather than just a lot of exploration. Now, given exploring this game is definitely pleasurable on the old eyeballs, right? And that goes without saying, but you know, it needs something to keep the player motivated to keep playing, and a very basic leveling up system is just not enough, you know, and there's not really much of a story either, and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, the game, or the developers, can pretty much stop with the whole polish, right? The game is polished enough. It is a gorgeous looking game. It needs to work on the fundamentals. It needs to work on the core of the game. It needs mechanics. It needs interesting things for the player to discover in this vast and at times randomly generated world. And yeah, it just, as I mentioned a couple times already, it's just missing depth, right? It's just missing depth. Anyways, we're at a storekeep right here. This guy will actually sell something useful. He's the Adventurers Guild. Let's talk to him. I am the Guildmaster. William is my name. I'm also a painter, a taxidermist. All those animals' masks are for sale. I'm selling the ghoul mask for a special price today, and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, let's just, I don't want to read all that. So let's buy the ghoul mask, so I can show you what they're all about. It's 250. Yeah, we can afford that. Can we afford this stuff? No, we can't. It's 4,000. Oops, keep hitting the wrong button there. So yeah, the masks actually play a pretty interesting role in this game. So let's put that on. We had a ghoul mask. Let's see, G. Put on face mask. Right there. So now, basically, if we go to town with this ghoul mask, friendly NPCs will become hostile to us because they'll think we're a ghoul. However, we can kind of roam around and enemy NPCs, and they'll generally leave us alone because, yeah, we're a ghoul. We're friends with them, right? So this is kind of interesting. Like, you can roleplay a little bit. You know, you can actually kind of gain the trust of other ghouls and have them follow you and all that kind of stuff. And you can plan an attack on friendly towns if you want. Like I said, the game is fairly open and very, very sandbox oriented, right? So there's definitely lots of room for the player to experiment with, and lots of room for the player to play in any way that they choose. Now, with that said, as mentioned before, it just needs to give the player a reason to sandbox this game, to play in a certain style that they like. Because right now, there's not really a whole lot of reason, except for the sake of exploration, except for the sake of leveling up, and even in that case, the leveling up system is fairly shallow, right? So, yeah, Hardland has a lot of potential. Has a great foundation, has a really open and vast open world, absolutely gorgeous art design, just absolutely amazing gorgeous art design, I should say, and it just needs some content. It needs some better mechanics. It needs some deeper mechanics, right? especially since this is an RPG. RPGs generally aren't the type of genre that you can skip on mechanics. In fact, a lot of RPGs, such as Caves of Quid or Dwarf Fortress or these other ASCII kind of roguelike RPGs, they can get away with virtually no no graphics at all. They're ASCII roguelike games, right? But they're still vastly enjoyed by a lot of people simply because it has a strong core. It has a nice, nicely designed mechanics that's deep and engrossing. And this game has the exact opposite of that. It has all the graphics in the world, all of it, right? But it's missing deep mechanics. It's missing that core that most RPGs are known for. So that's basically Hardland. I'm not going to write this off. I think the game has a lot of potential, absolutely ton of potential. It just needs some stuff. It needs to give me a reason to keep playing, to keep exploring, other than enjoying its immensely impressive visuals, right? So that's basically Hardland in a nutshell. Let's get out of this before we die. So we can go into the options, so we can check out what's available here. You can fully customize your control scheme. It does partially control the gamepad. I tried it a little bit. It's definitely played better with the keyboard and mouse though. That's my recommendation. Here we go. You can invert the mouse if you like, and mouse sensitivity, usual suspect, gameplay. You can show FPS or enable mod tools. And by the way, this game does support mods, not on Steam Workshop currently. I would expect maybe when it comes out of early access, but the game does state it supports mods, and that would probably go a long way in filling in a lot of the gaps that Hardland is kind of missing right now. So that's kind of cool. Video, you got your motion blur, film grain, bloom, FXAA, and all that kind of good stuff. Nothing overly robust. It's actually fairly general, but here it is. This is what it is. As far as audio, is your usual suspect. That's really loud for some reason. Let's turn that back down. But yeah, there you go. That's basically Hardland. So hopefully you folks enjoyed. Hopefully you found this informative and enjoyable. And if you did, show me some love. Like, share, fave, and comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I'll bring you lots more videos just like this. Oh my god, this game looks so good.